Good morning, students. I myself, Divakar Pandey from KUNTI NAGAR, Modern English School, NAWADA. And today, welcome to you for your e-learning class. And this is my rest part of the fourth video that I am going to provide you. And lesson 3 in history, Delhi Sultans, which belongs to class 7. And today's my topic is about administration under the Khalji and Tughlaqs. What were the policies of Khalji and Tughlaqs? As in my previous video, I have discussed you about Iqtas and their holders that were called Iqtidar or Muktis. And I have also discussed you about their duty, that they used to lead military campaigns and maintain law and order, where in their iqtas, and in exchange of their military services, these muktis collected the revenues of their assignments as their salary. And their soldiers were also paid their salaries from these revenues. From where? From these revenues. But when we study, we find accountants were also appointed by the state. Who were appointed? Accountants. Accountants were also appointed by the state in the region of Khalji and Tughlaq. Why? What was the reason? So to check the amount of revenue which were collected by muktis. Now we come to revenue. As we have already learned about iqtas, in this concern, land was the most important source of revenue. What was the most important source of revenue? Lands. Yes, it means taxes. Revenue, it means taxes were taken, and these were three types of taxes. It means there were three types of taxes at that time. First, on cultivation, second, on cattle, and third, on houses. When we talk about the taxes on cultivation, it was called kharaj. It means the taxes which was taken or imposed on cultivation, it was called kharaj, and it was amounting to about 50%. How many percent? 50% of the peasants' produce. Since Alauddin paid his soldiers fixed salaries in cash, so in most places revenue had to be paid in cash, and peasants had to sell their product to be able to pay the revenue. It means peasants also have to pay these taxes in cash. Whatever grain was collected as revenue, it was stored in granaries that were helpful probably in natural crises like famines, floods, etc. So these were the maintenance of revenue about which we study in Khalji's region. Now, when we study first of all about knowing Khalji's policy and Tughlaq's policy, we come to Mongol policy. What were the Mongol policy? Now, can you tell me who was the first Delhi Sultans? who faced the Mongol menace? No. Yes. It was Iltutmish. It was Iltutmish who saved India from a Mongol invasion by wisely refusing shelter to the ruler of Iran, who had been ousted by the Mongol chief Genghis Khan. By whom? By Genghis Khan. After it, Balban built forts to guard his empire against possible Mongol attacks. Now, come to the chapter. We should remember that large parts of the subcontinent remained outside the control of the Delhi Sultans till now. Why? What was the reason? Because it was not easy to control distant provinces like Bengal. Yes, when we take the example, we can say Bengal was impossible to control from Delhi. Even Gangetic Plain, about which I have told you, to Gangetic Plain local chieftains, it means in Gangetic Plain local chieftains began to establish their rule. In addition to this, Alauddin Khalji and Muhammad Tughlaq, who Alauddin Khalji and Muhammad Tughlaq tried to force their control only for a short duration. They didn't rule for a long time. Do you know in whose region? In whose region Mongol attacks increased on the Delhi Sultanate? Yes, in the region of Alauddin Khalji and in the early time of Tughlaq. When? In the early time of Tughlaq. But these Mongol attacks forced these two rulers to mobilize a large standing army in Delhi. How? So now first of all, we come to Alauddin Khalji's policy. To know about these, we should study the policies of Alauddin and Tughlaqs. Like this, we will be able to know about more and more Delhi Sultanate. So now we come to first of all on Alauddin Khalji's policy. What was their policies? What did he do? Yes, at first he built new forts and repaired old ones along the northwestern for its defense. Second, as a defensive measure, he raised a large standing army. Third, he built a garrisoned town by the name of Siri. By which name? By the name of Siri for his armies. That can be seen on map 1 in your book. Okay? So like this, his able generals drove back the Mongol raiders who raided India several times during his reign. Now, under the Alauddin Khilji's policy, we study about his administrative, it means army administration, which type of management he had done to administrate in his army. In this concern, Alauddin was the first Delhi Sultan. It means he was the first Delhi Sultan who maintained a well-occupied standing army. He gave his soldiers all kinds of facilities and protection also. Like this, a detailed description of each soldier was kept to prevent substitution. Now we come to his economic measures. Which type of management had been done by Alauddin Khilji in economic? So now we come to, he fixed the prices of all essential goods so that soldiers and other salaried people could afford to buy them. Now, have you understood? Now we come to next in economical. Weights and measures were standardized and cheating was severely punished. No one could be able to cheat in his reason. That benefited. How it benefited? It benefited not only soldiers but the general people also. So these were the policies of Alauddin Khilji's that were done by him to control over the Sultanate. Now after it, when we come to Tughlaq's policies, what were the Tughlaq's policies? Now come to a study. Muhammad bin Tughlaq's policies, it means Tughlaq's administrative measures were a failure. It can be called a failure administrative policy. Of whom? Of which person? Of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. How? So due to shift of capital, Muhammad Tughlaq decided to shift his capital to a place safe. From whom? From Mongol attacks. And for it he chose Devgiri, which is located in Deccan Plateau. So he chose Devgiri in the Deccan and renamed it as Daulatabad. What he named it? Daulatabad. He built a road to help nobles and officials shift to the new capital, but when he became failure to control the northwestern frontiers from Daulatabad, he shifted the capital back to Delhi. This caused heavy financial loss and great hardship to people. Have you understood? Now we come to a study in concern of his policy about their administration or army. When we study about his army conditions, we can say that in concern to this, he planned a military campaigns in Central Asia to stop Mongol expansion and raised a huge standing army. However, he had to give up the plan after spending heavily on the arrangements. Now, to like this, we can say these were their administration. And now, when we study about economic measures, we can say that to meet the expense of the army, Muhammad bin Tughlaq increased land tax in the Ganga Yamuna Doab. Where? In the Ganga Yamuna Doab. Many farmers rose in rebellion. They were ruthlessly crushed by him, and large areas were laid waste. As a result, in famine conditions, it means its results could be seen in famine conditions. The Sultan had to provide 6 months supplies from the royal granary that where grants were collected in such type of situation. To the royal granary at cheap rates, peasants had to be given loans to restore cultivation. Now we come to when finally after it Muhammad bin Tughlaq wanted to preserve what? to the gold and silver to meet expense of his plant campaigns outside his empire. Like this, so within his empire he introduced bronze token coins. Which type of coins? Bronze token coins. He however failed to check the large scale of the large scale for forgery or bronze coins. Like this, the value of currency fell sharply. It means their value began to fall very sharply. Trade suffered as foreign merchants stopped business, and the Sultan had to withdraw the token currency and pay gold and silver coins in exchange. Now, what happened? This caused a heavy financial loss. Now we come to a study about what happened in 15th and 16th century after the Delhi Sultanate in India. After the Tughlaqs, the Sayyid and Lodi dynasties ruled from Delhi and Agra until 1526. And in concern of this past history, we study that Jaunpur, Bengal, Malwa, Gujarat, Rajasthan, and entire part of southern India, it means South India, had independent that established their own states and its prosperous capital also. And in this period, the new ruling groups like Afghans and Rajputs emerged. And some of the states in this period were small but powerful. These were not only small, but these were powerful and extremely well administrated. Like Sher Shah Suri started his career as a manager of a small kingdom, it means dynasty, and eventually he challenged and defeated Mughal emperor and captured Delhi Sultanate. Like this, we have to study many things in this chapter, so you will be able to understand it and study your chapter. Okay, thank you, and try to solve your questions. Now this chapter is ended here. Thank you for your watching.